Hey folks, Jessica here. We're finally doing it, the Enmity video. I have wanted to talk about this for a long time because I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions around how strong Enmity is, how practical it is, how survivable it is in a harder fight, just overall how useful it is. Uh, I want to talk about all aspects of this, so it's going to be a longer discussion. We're going to talk about at a high level what the skill is. I'll give you some numbers to frame the rest of the discussion. Then we'll talk about enmity and different elements, so weapons to keep an eye out for, characters that are strong enablers, and at the end I'll show off a few enmity teams that are particularly strong in action. Spoilers, those are going to be dark just because that's what I'm set up for, but also dark is the strongest enmity element. I don't think there's much of a debate there. So without further ado, this is Gisla-chan, #1 best girl. Public enemy #1 when you think of strong enmity weapons. If you say enmity somebody, they're gonna think of Gisla usually. Gisla is a moon weapon. It's a vintage weapon from the moon shop for 30 gold moons. That might sound like a lot if you're a newer player, but compared to say like the superlative weapons, which are 100 gold moons, Gisla is actually pretty obtainable. I recommend you save moons to try and get a Gisla if you're a player that aspires to play dark at a high level. Gisla is so there's an Eden template weapon, which just means a stamina weapon that has big attack, medium stamina. Gisla could be considered the other template for enmity. So a Gisla template weapon would be big attack, medium enmity. And yeah, so big attack, we all know what that is. Enmity, medium boost to dark allies attack based on how low HP is. So pretty simple concept. As your HP goes down, 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 your attack's gonna go up, up, up. This is a standard mechanic in a lot of RPGs. It's kind of more of a sacrificial playstyle, a risk-reward playstyle. The more in danger of dying your characters are, the harder they're gonna hit. Pretty easy to understand, but I think numbers are important to put this in context, so I will bring up a chart. This chart is from the Granblue Fantasy Wiki. It shows enmity at various health thresholds and skill level thresholds. Remember, enmity scales for your HP, so it's not static. Important first thing to note is if you're at full health 100%, you get 0 benefit from enmity. If you're running a bunch of enmity weapons and you're full health, you're not going to do much damage because all your enemy weapons are essentially giving you 0 bonus attack. They're turned off. Important to remember that for the playstyle. Can't really talk about enemy without talking about stamina, which is the inverse. It is more attack if your HP is high. They are yin and yang to each other effectively. So as you can see, this is a stamina chart. If you're full HP here, you get the maximum benefit. One thing to note here is your damage falls off dramatically as you start taking damage very, very rapidly. To the point where if you're below 25% health, you're getting 0% stamina bonus. I think this is a lot of people have a misconception around stamina. They don't understand how fast it actually turns off. There's tons of situations in fights where you might be below 25 HP and you're getting literally 0 bonus from stamina there, so keep that in mind. Like it's not 1%, 1 health means you have 0 stamina. It's below 25%, which is considerably different. So keep that in mind. Another thing to note is Gisla is, let's see, SL15 medium enmity, so this chart, this column here. Let's compare that to stamina real quick, which would be like Eden, Ichikashi Fury, Dark Fallen Sword, Ixaba. These are all stamina weapons that are similar to Gisla. So those are medium stamina SL15. So at full health with an Eden, you would be getting 9.56% bonus. Pretty sizable. But a thing to note here is if you look at Gisla, well, in order for Gisla to equal Eden in terms of bonus, you would have to be at about 50% health. You'd actually be slightly better because it's 10% versus 9.56. Now, one thing to note here is you very, very, very rapidly start to outpace a stamina weapon as you get below 50% health. See, at 20% health, you're at 20.8%. That means you're more than twice as powerful as a stamina weapon. That's equivalent. And then when you get down to 1 HP, you're actually 30% bonus attack from enmity. You're fully 3 times better, more than 3 times better than a stamina weapon in its ideal circumstance. So that's the thing to remember here. Enmity and stamina are not equal. Enmity scales to a much higher multiplier than a stamina weapon. That is essentially the whole risk reward aspect. The reason for that is there's really no risk in running a stamina playstyle, because all you're really doing is a bunch of stamina weapons. You're trying to keep your health high, you're trying to heal yourself. You also have tons of mechanisms to do that. Tons of characters have heals. You can use your healing pots. Various summon calls have heals. Charge attack have heals. There's lots of ways to keep yourself topped off. It's very easy to use low pressure, more relaxed play style. That's why I think stamina is really popular with a lot of people. It's easy to understand and like it's easy to use. Enmity, on the other hand, you're taking a lot of risk because you're sitting on low HP. It's very easy to die. But also, this is important, there's not as many enablers for Enmity. There's not a lot of ways to set your health at a low level manually other than simply getting hit, which can be unreliable in some fights. So that's the thing with Enmity. It's a tougher playstyle. And I think this is why a lot of people get misconceptions in their head about Enmity. And honestly, it comes down to a lot of people don't like that playstyle. They're uncomfortable with it. They're scared of it, I guess you could say, because it's a riskier playstyle. It's not for everybody. But I think without a doubt, in its ideal circumstance, if you're good with it and you know what you're doing, Enmity is much more powerful than stamina. So let's move on from the chart. Okay, now let's talk about some characters that work well with Enmity. These are strictly off the top of my head, so I might miss some. If there's a character you feel like I should mention that I didn't, feel free to just comment down below and let me know. It is important to have characters that work well with an Enmity playstyle in order to play Enmity. The thing is, if you don't have characters that are enablers for Enmity, you're pretty much entirely reliant on damage taken from the boss in order to get your Enmity active. And that can be unreliable, because if you're in a raid, the boss might be CC'd. They might have like para on them or charm, preventing them from doing damage and kind of not ever turning on your Enmity, which makes it like not ideal for like racing. On the other hand, you might be fighting a boss that hits so hard that unless you're using something that cuts damage, they'll kill you. That's an issue because, again, you can't turn on your Enmity because you're either using a cut, in which case you're not taking much damage at all, or you're taking so much damage that you're dead, which renders the whole point moot. So what you want are characters that can either lower their own health or the team's health, or are super synergistic, I would say, with Enmity. Like, when they do turn on, they turn on and make a huge difference to the fight. So, this is Summer Beatrix. She is, well, she previously was one of Fire's best characters, very highly rated character. It hasn't been the case in a few years, actually. But she used to be considered very strong because the meta for Fire was Crimson Finger. Crimson Finger, I guess to a degree, X-Axe, even I guess Chains of Caucasus, are all very strong Enmity weapons. The issue with her overall evaluation these days is Enmity Fire is no longer the meta, Ixaba is the meta. When Ixaba gets 4-star uncap, everyone pretty much switched over to Stamina Fire. So Bia is pretty much wholly designed around Enmity. She's got this Soaring Star skill. When you use Soaring Star, it drops her by 40% health, so that's a way to turn on Enmity. Gives her Jammed, which is a buff-based Enmity skill. She's got an Assassin type skill, which is very useful with Enmity. It lets you maximize the damage you do. And then she's also got various like multi-attack buffs and abilities to modify her hostility, which can be useful. She's got these bonuses when she's below 60% health. She crits more and is more evasive. She dodges more. She has Guts, which is a very powerful Enmity skill in that it lets you survive being hit once, which, if you're running really low health, getting hit will likely kill you a lot of times. But if you have Guts, that's one get out of jail free card, and it's very important for Enmity characters. Moving on from her, a more recent Fire Enmity character is Usis, Mafia Girl, my favorite Yakuza. She is entirely based around enmity as well. Again, she gets jammed on her charge attack, so it's a buff-based enmity skill. She gives herself a shield when she's below 25% in charge attacks. Important to realize, shields work well with enmity because they don't count as HP effectively. If you're on 1 HP and you've got like a 3000 shield, you're still counted as 1 HP for the bonuses of enmity. However, you can take 3000 damage without dying because you effectively have 3001 HP because of the shield. So keep that in mind. She's got the ability to give herself Unchallenged, which negates a damaging attack. Again, plays into the idea of taking a single point of damage can be very dangerous, so Unchallenged is very useful. All her skills have some benefit if she's below 25% HP. And when she's below 25, she's got a passive, Sakura Before the Grave. That is a great anime name. Guaranteed triple, very useful. 20% echo. Again, you're going to be doing a tremendous amount of damage when enemy is active. So echoes, assassins, guaranteed multi-attack, all very useful to have. Additional effects of skill and charge attacks. She also starts with a guts effect, just like Summer Bia. They're actually they work very well together. Big boost. This is unique. 7th anniversary. 7th anniversary is a big boost to all allies' attack based on how low uses HP is. Very useful. It is it's like a team enmity effect from just having uses. Let's talk about one more fire character. She's a bit more of a weird one, and that's Skahaka. Skahak. I always want to say she's named Skahak, like the Fate Go character, Fate Grand Order character. But there's too many letters. Like, she might actually be Skahaka, but that sounds wrong. Is she Skahaka? That sounds very wrong. Let me know if you know how to pronounce Skahaka's name down below, because I'm very curious about that one. Skahak is she is weird because she has things that are useful if you are playing enmity. So she gives everyone jammed, which is again the buff based enmity skill, and this is the big thing is she can consume allies HP to give everybody a shield, and it's a large shield up to 5k. So this actually turns on enmity for the team effectively in 25% increments. Very, very powerful for enmity. She's got other buffs, but that's the main reason you would want to use her on an enmity team. Now, the reason I say she's a little bit weird to use for enmity is one of her most valuable skills is True Dragon Bloom, and that yeah, okay, sparkles, whatever. But if she's below 25% HP, she'll consume this and fully heal everyone's HP one time. Will completely maximum heal HP. This can be a lifesaver in some fights. There's a strat I used to do for Lucilius HL, actually, where Lucilius nukes you for 30k on everybody when they enter, and I would just use like a damage cut to survive the first turn and let Skahaka heal us all back up to full immediately. The one issue is, while she is based around enmity very strongly, True Dragon Bloom does effectively turn off your enmity completely when it triggers. So it might save your life, but it's also lowering your damage while that's in effect. So that is kind of a cost to using her that you should keep in mind. Also, she has enmity in her EMPs. Very much an enmity character. Overall, I would say that she is a great character to use an enemy team because, yes, you do turn off your enmity, but she gives you a lot more sustain as an enemy team. And more importantly, she's a team-wide enmity enabler, and there's very few of those. And they largely are going to define how well you can play enmity as an element. Moving on. I very well might have missed an Earth enmity character because honestly I can only think of air off the top of my head. Let me know down below if you know of some Earth enmity characters that that work well. Air is very much an enmity aligned character, always has been. The big thing is he has Guilty Break. This gives him an enmity buff, but also lowers his HP every time he uses it. It has a 0 turn cooldown, so you can spam this. And because it lowers his HP, you cast this a few times on turn 1 and drop him down to low HP and fully turn on his enmity. He's also got some evasiveness with the Jolt counter, which is significantly better after 5-star. And he's got like substitute, slight chance to dodge. His damage cap goes up based on how low his HP is, which is very useful for any character. Higher multi-attack rate based on how low HP is. Very much Enmity aligned. I think an issue is I can't think of many other Earth characters that work well with Enmity. So the thing is, an Aether does not a team make. It's the way I would put it. I guess Sarasa actually would be an Earth Enmity character. Let me pull her up real quick. Sarasa's big thing is, again, she can nuke her HP, like 99% of her HP with her Ground Zero skill, effectively supercharging Enmity. She's also got Jammed, which again works well with Enmity. Gives herself Drain, which allows her to get herself out of the danger zone. Not going to super go into her because honestly there's a ton to talk about with Sarasa, but she would be a good character to run of air if you wanted to run an Earth Enmity team. Water Enmity. Immediate thing that comes to mind is Vayne. This is regular SSR Vayne. Vayne is very much an Enmity character, can get himself jammed, can consume his own HP, which as you've gathered by now is important, 40%. Can give himself guts and sub useful skills. His main gimmick, like signature skill, is Soul Eruption. When below 25% HP, he can cast Soul Eruption, which fully heals him. So that does, and removes debuffs, that does turn off your Enmity effectively, so that's an issue. But he turbocharges his stats while Soul Eruption is active, so the idea is you cast Soul Eruption and you don't really need the Enmity for those turns because Soul Eruption is such a huge buff. He can give himself extra defense when he's low HP. That works very well with Enmity. It increases your survivability. A pretty decent Enmity character. The other water Enmity character I can think of right now is Kalulu. Summer Kalulu specifically. Just came out this year actually. Very much an Enmity character. She can nuke her own HP. Significantly nuke it. She sacrifices 80% of her HP, which lets you very much turn on Enmity. She does this in order to give everybody a buff and Deluge Crest. She's also a Crest character. Important thing to note for her is, like her regular Dark counterpart, she inflicts Blind, which makes the boss have a chance to miss. Obviously this is great because it can save your life, because if you're on 1 HP and the boss tries to attack you, if it hits you, you're probably dead unless you got some like damage negation. But Blind means that attack can miss, and if that misses, that's kind of, you get out of jail free. Now, I know Blind is not 100% reliable. I don't think anybody ever claimed that. However, that doesn't mean Blind isn't useful. I think a lot of people want things like this to be 100% all the time without realizing that's an unreasonable ask. Like, a recurring 100% damage cut is not an easily acquirable thing, nor should it really be. So you can't say that, oh, Blind isn't always going to work, so it's not useful. That's a really flawed way of looking at it. When Blind works, it's great. Can you rely on 100%? No. Should you have other backup plans? Yes. But does that mean overall it's going to be a gain for you? Yes. Like that's how skills like Blind work. She also gives everyone jammed. She can give unchallenged to herself. 2 hits, in fact, I didn't realize that. And a shield and more jammed. These are all great things for Enmity. When she's below 25% HP, which she will be after using her 1 Sunburn, because you hit her Sunburn, drops her 20% HP, she'll get guaranteed triple again, give herself guts, have an Echo. I don't think she auto-nukes, though, like regular Kalulu, which would be super nice. I think she would actually be a really powerful argument for a water Enmity team if she did do that, but she doesn't. Moving on. Back to Skahaka again. Skahaka? I am just going to call her Skahak because I have no idea how to say her name. If that's not right, just deal with it. Skahak's actually not a great wind enmity enabler, but I can't think of any other wind enmity enablers. So let me know if there's one that jumps to mind for you that I've missed. Yeah, she's actually not as good an enmity enabler as her Valentine's counterpart. She can grant a shield just like her Valentine's version, but it's only to 1 character. And she just like her Valentine's version, she does consume her own health when she does it, which is nice. But like beyond that and the ability to give jammed, there's she doesn't have a ton of enemy enabling stuff, which does make me wonder if there's another wind enemy enabler. Because if there isn't, wind is a very awkward enemy element, and that's the thing. Like I said, whether or not you can play enmity is gonna depend on the availability of good enmity weapons, yes, for your grid, but also whether or not you have good enmity enablers. And on that note, let's move on. Okay, we're here. You saw this coming, I'm sure. We're gonna start talking dark. There's gonna be a lot of dark characters I want to talk about because dark is very much an element that's aligned with enmity. It is designed around it. It has so many characters that interact with it, that can make use of it, and so many weapons that work well with it. If you want to argue dark's not an enmity element, well, I mean, you'd be wrong. Just flat out, dark is entirely supposed to be the enmity element. Dark is dominant in racing meta teams. Like it is what you use if you want to race slash regularly blue chest things like Akasha or Grand Order HL. It's just the way it is, and the reason is enmity builds, and specifically this bitch. This bitch here, Summer Zooey, the keeper of unbalance herself. More than any other character in the game, one that's worthy of the title of meta defining. She is the reason dark is the way it is. We're going to talk about her skills in detail because I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by some of it, and mostly surprised by the fact that she's actually not a great character. Like, her kit's really bad. Look at her. So, her charge attack. Let's talk about that. It is one of the few charge attacks that still exist that don't have an auxiliary effect. Almost every character now that's SSR has an auxiliary effect on their charge attack. It does damage and something else. Hers only does damage. That is very, very unusual these days. There's a reason why Cute Ribbon, her Grand weapon, even though it's a Grand weapon that's been around for years and years, doesn't have a forced arm cap. They don't want to give Summer Zooey anything because she's already such a pivotal character, like such an influential character in the game as a whole. Let's talk skills. Resolution her 1. This is actually not terrible. It is a pretty sizable nuke that always does superior element damage, which is nice if you are using dark off elemental advantage, because it will always match the element that's strong against what you're hitting. It'll give her jammed, which, you know, it's a decent stamina, or sorry, enmity buff. But it doesn't do anything else. Like, it's a pretty plain nuke, but it's fine. It's not her 3. Her 3 is terrible. It is a very small AoE nuke that randomly inflicts one of 3 effects: attack down, death down, or debuff down. That debuff resist down. Like, just not it's a bad skill. Speaking of bad skills, her passive Envoy Mediation is kind of laughable. Visa Zooey, the light version you can get of her if you apply for the Granblue Fantasy credit card. Yeah, that's a thing. Has the same ability, which is just a terrible ability. Let me explain this. She gets a boost of stats based on the number of different elements among your team. So that means if your Jita is water, and then you have a fire character and like a light character on your team, and then Summer Zooey, she would get a bonus because the elements on your team are different. Obviously, that's a terrible team, because that means the weapons in your grid are going to very badly align with 3 out of 4 characters on your team, and you're going to do terrible damage. It's a really bad buff, and they have abandoned this passive theme on pretty much all versions of Zooey since this one, for a reason. It's real bad. Her EMP, gain mirror image upon taking big damage. That's fine. So why is Summer Zooey such an important character? It's her 2. I skipped over for a reason. Conjunction. This is the single most powerful enmity enabler in the game. Like, in terms of single skill, probably the most powerful skill in the game in terms of what it enables. If you've been following so far, enmity enablers for other teams. They do things like lower HP by 25% or 40% for usually for only themselves. Zoe lowers HP to 1 for everybody. That turns enmity fully on for your entire team. That is absolutely huge because that means you have a massive amount of burst. For farm content, that usually means you're going to outright kill the thing in like a turn with conjunction active. For harder content, that is like the leg up in terms of racing that allows you to get ahead and stay ahead. But if it only did that, it would be still a powerful skill, but it also does a couple other things that are really key. It gives unchallenged for 1 turn. This basically makes your team immune to the next increment of damage, which is monumentally important because everyone's on 1. And like, you don't want to just get 1 attack off and die. So unchallenged lets you guarantee to survive that turn usually with Summer Zooey because of negating all the damage. Additionally, there's Drain, which in some ways turns off your enmity, yes, because you're going to start healing yourself and that's going to lower your enmity damage, but it actually is essential for the playstyle because what it does is it allows you to stay just high enough in health to not immediately die to taking a hit. What usually happens with Summer Zooey enmity teams is you hit conjunction, and then when you go to your attack, you're going to guarantee survive that turn. You're also going to heal yourself a little bit with Drain, and because you're hitting so hard because of your enmity, you're going to drain a significant amount of health, and that's usually enough to keep all your characters above the threshold where they would die from the next hit. To put this in perspective, this is actually enough to make Zoe Summer Zooey a very commonly used character on dark teams for Lucilius HL. A lot of people want to harp on how dark is enmity dark is a gimmick that isn't safe to use in hard content. Lucilius HL is the hardest fight in the game. Like I think you could unequivocally say that. And it is one of the fights that punish the entire raid if anybody dies, because you can only have 6 deaths total across the entire raid before the fight is flat out over. Everyone just straight up dies permanently if you lose 6 characters total. So you would think a strategy where you lower your HP to 1 in the most dangerous fight in the game would be just like a non-starter, like a complete non-starter. You wouldn't be allowed to bring in her. Well, no, Summer Zooey is very commonly brought in dark teams, and that's because her 2 works so well in that fight. What happens is Unchallenged lets you soak a lot of triggers safely. Like, there's many things in that fight you need to have some 100% damage cut or avoidance in order to progress through. So Unchallenged is exactly that. It's a very useful tool in the toolkit. Obviously, you have other stuff besides just Unchallenged, but that is one of the things. And then additionally, that Drain, if you're running garrison weapons like Majestus in your grid, that Drain is usually enough to keep everyone high enough health that they're not going to immediately die to like a regular Lucilius attack. When you have your requisite cuts and everything up that everybody has for Lucilius. So yeah, Summer Zooey is actually remarkably useful in that fight. And again, I think one of the reasons people are a little bit polarized, a lot of people want to downplay the strength of enmity, is characters like Summer Zooey existing. Summer Zooey is a limited character that not everybody has. So like, I have seen many people make the argument that enmity is bad. They won't admit this, obviously, but the reason why is because they don't have a Summer Zooey. But no, Summer Zooey is an extremely powerful character if you're running enmity. You can make an argument she's not a great character to use if you don't run enmity, and that's absolutely true because the rest of her skills besides conjunction are not that great. But I'm going to put this in perspective, okay? She's Summer Zooey, right? Summer Zooey. She is a swimsuit character, which means she's in the swimsuit pool, right? No. She used to be in the swimsuit pool. She used to be the only available, like, a couple banners in the entire year because she was a summer character. They actually took her out of the swimsuit pool and put her in the grand pool, the recurring monthly pool. And she's the only character in the entire game they have ever done that before. She's the only one that's moved from seasonal limited to monthly limited with the Grand Pool. And the reason why is she is such an important character for a dark team to have. It used to be if you miss Summer Zooey in the summer pools, if you effectively probably just shouldn't really play dark for the rest of the year, because especially Enmity dark for the rest of the year, because you just didn't have this super powerful enabler. And that was such an issue for people that they put her in a monthly pool as opposed to a yearly pool. Only character they've done that for. Like, that's all the evidence you need to realize how important a character she is. But I've talked about her for a while, let's move on. Only going to talk briefly about Nier, because I did a character spotlight on her recently. She effectively is Zoe's girlfriend for mechanical purposes. They work extremely well together. I'm not going to talk about any of her skills except for Will to Love, her passive. This is the main interaction between her and Zoe. When she dies, which is a thing, like, you're going to kill her. You're going to use a death summon to kill her. When she dies, she's going to inflict unfinished business on your team and the boss, but mostly it's relevant on your team. It does a bunch of debuffs that don't matter in the full context. Just watch the spotlight if you want to know more about that. But the main thing is, it makes it so you can't recover HP. That would normally be a big downside, but that's actually the reason you want to use her. Because as I mentioned with Zoe, she sets everyone's HP to 1, but she gives everyone drain. So they're effectively going to heal up and heal up and heal up and heal up as you attack, which effectively turns off your enmity, lowers your damage. Because of unfinished business, Nier lets you lock everyone's HP at 1, letting you do maximum damage for the duration of unfinished business, 4 turns. This is really big for racing setups. This is where you would use Nier, or for a fight where you reliably know you can finish a fight before this becomes an issue. This is not for every fight. Let's just get that out of the way. If you don't want to be pulling the shit on Lucilius HL, because you don't want to lose any characters on Lucilius. But if you he does so much AoE and hits so hard that if everyone's on 1 HP, they're gonna die. So you don't want to use it in those setups. Use your brain is the only advice I would give for where you want to use Nier. It's fairly obvious where you would want to use Nier. I think a lot of people whinge about Nier and Zoe and Enmity in general about oh, it's not a valid strategy for anything. You're just gonna die. This is the overwhelmingly dominant strategy for racing fights that are very important. Fights that give gold bars. Akasha, Grand Order HL. A few other fights. This is the dominant strategy. Also very useful for fights that you can reliably end quickly. If you want to say this isn't valid, go try and race one of those fights, and you're going to find out real quick why you're wrong. Honestly, if you try and race an Akasha, you're going to get dumpstered by an Enmity Nier Zoe team. That's just how it is. A JP player running a full Enmity Dark team is gonna dumpster you if you're not running Enmity also. That's just how it is. This is the most powerful setup for pushing a ton of damage really, really fast. Very few other element setups can come anywhere close to this much damage. Alright, Black Knight. Apollonia, one of my favorite characters in the game. The big bad gay herself. Apollonia is a beast in enmity teams, especially skill damage, dark, racing enmity teams. She's got a bunch of enmity stuff, a couple big ones. Sword of Despair is enmity and garrison effectively. It gives her attack and defense based on how low her HP is. She can inflict Petrify, which can save you from taking as much damage since it stops the enemy from charge attacking as much, stuff like that. The main reason you use her on enmity team though is black armor. This gives her an auto nuke. So what I mean by that is at the end of your turn, if she's below 50% health, she's going to automatically cast Onyx Drain. This hits really hard in a skill damage team. It's like 2.5 million damage or so, roughly. The thing is, in order for this to work, you need to have Nier, Zoe and Nier, and with Nier's Unfinished Business active, because Onyx Drain is a drain. It will heal her. So, effectively, if you don't have Nier's thing active, Apollonia is going to very rapidly heal herself out of the range where she automatically casts Onyx Drain. However, if she is locked to 1 HP, Onyx Drain stops healing her, and then she can just do it for the whole duration of Unfinished Business. I'll talk about auto-nukes in just a second, but let's talk about the other auto-nuker, Kalulu. Regular OG Kalulu. She, like Apollonia here, is very powerful because of her auto-nuke. Tally-Ho activates when her HP is 25% or lower. This, again, is a very hard-hitting nuke. Hits for about 2.5, 2.7 million HP. The way these work is, if you charge attack, it creates what's called a lockout. So when you attack in a racing setup, you attack and then you hit refresh to reset everybody so you can attack again. If you're doing just auto attacks, you don't incur lockout. That's important. So you can attack, refresh, attack, refresh, attack, refresh as fast as like your connection and like setup will allow. If you are charge attacking, on the other hand, you're not you're not able to do that, because what's going to happen is you'll attack and whatever amount of charge attacks happen. But when you hit refresh, when you go to attack again, it's going to say still processing previous turn, because it has lockout from those charge attacks. That's why charge attack builds aren't as good for racing. So what auto nukes let you do is get a leg up on everybody else, because you're doing all your auto attack damage, which is going to be significant. But then you're also pushing usually about 7 million to 8 million total extra damage from auto nukes, because like MC, like Soldier, is going to be doing their auto nuke with John Doe, the Clash Champion weapon. Black Knight's going to be doing Onyx Rain automatically. Tally-Ho is going to be activating automatically off Kalulu. So Soldier, Black Knight, Kalulu, Zoe, Nier, then Zoe is usually the setup for skill damage racing with Dark. And it's extremely effective. It was a very dominant racing strategy for Dark for a long time after Nier came out. Some debate whether or not it or Luchador Dark Enmity is better these days, but those are the two of the dominant racing strategies for Dark. Other things to talk about real quick. Tally-Ho inflicts blind. As I said before, blind is very useful for evading damage. No, not 100% like reliable, but again, that's a lot to ask. And if you're racing, honestly, like if you're racing and you do get unlucky and everyone does get creamed by an attack, join another fight and race that one. Like, that's just how it'd be. Sometimes you're going to get RNG'd when you're running Enmity, and that's fine. You can just join another fight, because you're racing. You're going to go through hundreds of these fights to get to farm your gold bars. Other things she does, because she has more kit stuff than just that. She's got supplemental damage, which is nice, whatever. Significant amount, by the way. It's 50%. 50,000. But she's got guts. Again, guts, very useful for surviving. And she has substitute, which works well with guts as well. And she can also give herself bonus attack, and she passively has bonus attack and defense based on how low HP is. So she has Garrison / MD built in, just like Black Knight does. Again, Dark is the enmity element. Beyond all that, her charge attack is actually quite useful. I know it doesn't incur lockout, like I said, but it has an automatic activation of Tally-Ho on it, and that effectively is an extra 2.7 million damage on a charge attack. So she'll charge attack for like whatever you charge attack for, like 3.5, 4 million, and then another 2.7 million with Tally-Ho. And if you drop Nier's double charge attack on her, she'll do she'll double do that, so she'll Tally-Ho twice for even more damage. And then she can reset her own cooldowns with Still Alive, which consumes her own HP if you need to manually enable Enmity, giving her an instant access to her charge attack, but also letting her Tally-Ho manually again. Girl can like throw a ton of Tally-Hos in a turn if you want a meme like that. Moving on from her, let's talk about a character you might not have already considered for Enmity. Jalter. Sorry. Jeanne d'Arc, dark version, evil Jeanne d'Arc. Uh, Evil Jeanne d'Arc is a really old school character, been around for a long time because Granblue Fantasy needed their own version of Jalter. Fake out reference. Uh, so she can give herself Incision. It's a pretty strong buff that scales over time, whatever. But the main thing is she inflicts Undying on herself. This is a very unique skill. I can't think of another character immediately that has Undying or some Undying-like skill. But this can withstand lethal damage. She cannot die while Undying is active. If you have Undying up, she is straight up immune to death for the duration of it. She'll take whatever hit they throw at her and sit on 1 HP. This is very potent with Enmity because it lets you like cockroach her for several turns, pumping on an absolutely huge amount of damage because she's gonna sit on 1 HP. And beyond that, she has Le Facile d'Arc, which is a self-enmity passive, and then she also has like kind of a random chance guts effect. She's not a character that you see that often these days, but she's actually a pretty good dark character for Enmity. She also has like a decent charge attack, Reverse Shift. Reverse Shift gives everybody on your team dark attack up and light damage cut. Very useful character. Kind of fallen off because Dark has flashier characters these days, but she's still a good character. Ray, I did a character spotlight on her, so this will be brief. Main thing here I want to talk about, though, is Moksha, her 2, when you swap out with somebody, it gives them bonus dodge rate, which is useful for an Enmity build. But a big thing for Enmity builds also is she has Cold Stare. Cold Stare effectively gives your turn of not taking damage. You cast Cold Stare and you're gonna take 0 damage on that turn most of the time. And that is extremely useful because it's a free turn you get to continue smashing away with your Enmity build. So like you want to chain these effects that like Guts, Cold Stare, even something like an Unchallenged from a Godscorn Alexio summon, I guess. Like, there's a ton of things you can chain together to guarantee survive to continue pumping out damage when you're low health. Moving on from Ray, a character she often gets paired with, Predator. Predator, again, I did another spotlight on her, so I'm going to be brief here, but like main things is she has a huge ass anytime assassin she can use for a ton of damage, has a big 50% echo and double strike. But a big thing is guaranteed triple also, and built-in enmity for the entire team. By the way, big boost to all allies' attacks based on how lower HP is. But 40% dodge rate. You combine this with Ray's bonus dodge rate, and she's actually very evasive. Again, it's not 100%. You're not gonna get 100% reliably like that, but it is very it works enough that is very relevant. I'm not gonna talk about all the dodge characters. There's a bunch of There's a bunch of dark dodge oriented characters like Vakala and like Anturia. I guess even Shalem has a guaranteed dodge targetable skill you can use. These are all great characters, but I don't want this to be the dark enmity spotlight entirely and just repeatedly talk about dark characters. So we're gonna skip over those and move on to weapons. Onwards to weapons. So we start with fire on the characters. We're gonna start with fire on the weapons as well. Let's jump into my stash. The immediate weapon that jumps to mind that's easily farmable for a lot of people is X-Axe. This is an M2 weapon. The M2 raids are twin elements, which is from Apollo, Neza, Makula Marius, Medusa, Dark Angel, Olivia. Nailed them. These are interesting because they have this thing that they don't do anymore where these can drop as primal weapons or magnum weapons. So X-Axe is the primal version. Ancient X-Axe is the magnum version. I'm kind of glad they don't do this anymore because it was really annoying if you're farming something like, say, a Cortana from Dark Angel Olivia, and Dark Angel Olivia dropped in the Ancient Cortana. It was just really annoying. But yes, this is Solaire, so medium attack crit, and then small enmity. Another farmable weapon that is similar for primal is Chains of Caucasus. This is an epic weapon, note that. This is from Prometheus, medium enmity, and it's got this grand epic skill on it, which is very interesting. You get bonus attack based on how many epic weapons you're using. So this itself is an epic weapon. So I think the break point is you want to use like, I think 4 epic weapons for this to be a pretty powerful setup. There's one more epic weapon it is commonly paired with, which is also from Prometheus, and it's this thing. Fire Prometheus. It is big attack and a medium attack plus double attack, so it's actually got 2 attack stats on it. It's actually a tremendously powerful weapon. But the main reason you use an Enmity is it's got this take damage every turn on it. You will burn while this weapon's in your grid. You're just gonna take damage every turn. Again, useful because it turns on your Enmity. Like even if the boss isn't attacking, you're still gonna take damage, and your attacks are gonna go up and up and up and up because your Enmity will slowly be activating. And this is again an epic weapon, so it works with Chains of Akasha very well. Issue is there's no way to stop this burn. It is permanent while you have this in your grid. If you have this in grid at all, you're just going to be always burning. If the fight goes longer than you expect, or you get on a lower HP threshold than you expect, this could very well kill you. I've seen it happen. Be careful with these, especially if you're completely nuts and want to run 2 of these, because it adds up really fast. There's one more Enmity Fire weapon. Fire has really good Enmity weapon options, and actually a decent amount of Enmity characters. No enabler like Summer Zooey, obviously, but no other element besides Dark has a Summer Zooey, so that's not really a fair comparison. But the other Fire Enmity weapon is Crimson Finger, good old Crimfin. This used to be in the meta before Ixaba shifted fire towards being a stamina element. This is effectively a Gisla. It's a Fistla. Big attack, medium enmity. I actually have 2 of these because I subtixed them, because in ye olden days there were points when I didn't really want any of the characters available on my subtix, so I just grabbed Primfins because they were kind of a really good aspirational fire weapon. Now that fire is more stamina element, I don't think I'll ever actually finish these Primfins, but I don't know, maybe if fire like becomes more an enmity element again, I might finish them, but I've got 2 of those, so that's the thing. Moving on, let's talk about wind. Oh, I actually forgot a really strong fire enmity weapon, and that is Uisis's knife, Gangsta Knife. The Yakuza girl, I'm pretty sure I'm saying her name wrong. So it's big enmity, small crit, and then medium garrison. This is an extremely strong weapon, especially if you want to do something like solo Lucilius HL. Okay, wind is a very easily farmable Magna enmity option with Tiamat Bolt Omega here. This is from Tiamat Omega, the raid, I know, shocker. It's medium attack, small enmity, and it's a very solid weapon. I'm using it right now as my Magna multiplier in my wind raid. This used to be the meta for Magna Wind before the Grimnir raid came along with and added last Storm Harp and kind of pushed Wind towards being more a stamina meta. It's still a very solid weapon. They gave a bunch of these away a while back at SL20 level 200, so check your box, you may actually have one of these. But these are still pretty solid for a newer player. If you're running a Magna grid full of Tiamat Ball Omegas, that's gonna get you through a lot of content as a newer player. Like, very solid, easily acquirable weapon. You want more premium wind option, there is this, which was added about a year ago, I think. Spear of Assail. This is it's a wind Gisla, almost exactly. Big attack, medium enmity. Gisla, for reference right here. Big attack, medium enmity. The main difference, though, is wind doesn't have a Summer Zooey. Spear of Assail is not as good as Gisla just because the enablers don't exist in the element in order to make it a super strong weapon. If there was a wind Summer Zooey, then Spear of Assail would be an ultra powerful weapon. But alas, that's not a thing. Moving on. I cannot think of many water enmity weapons off the top of my head. What immediately jumps to mind, well, for Magna, is Winter's Frost Nettle. This is from Rise of the Beast. This is Solaire, so medium attack crit, and then small enmity. I feel like there's got to be more water enmity weapons. Let me know if I missed any, because I can't think of any immediately. This is fine. The only issue here is I don't think you can get more than one of these, so not enough to build a grid around on its own. Water does have a pretty strong premium weapon for enmity, and that is, if I can find the page here. Yeah, this is Ingwe's gun, Meteora. This is big attack, small enmity, but also small garrison. Garrison works hand in hand with enmity because it increases your defense as your health goes down instead of attack, and that lets you survive on low HP pretty effectively because it means you're not going to be taking as much damage from those attacks. And Garrison's a very powerful skill, defensively speaking. You want a lot of Garrison weapons if you're going to try and solo the Silius HL. But yeah, those are the only two enemy weapons for water that come to mind off the top of my head. If you can think of one, let me know. Moving on. Alright, Earth has a surprisingly large amount of enmity weapons. For Magna, there's this M3 weapon, Regalia weapon. Nibelung Messer, this is from Alexiel. This is small enmity and then bonus charge attack damage cap. Also farmable is Solomon's Axe, this is from Ball. This is big attack, small enmity. To talk premium options, it's got a few good ones. Stratomizer, this is Eustace's gun. This is big enmity and then small attack with rock slide bullet, and that also gives bonus skill damage cap. Very strong weapon. I use this. I actually shove this in my Earth grid, which is normally a stamina grid, when I know that I'm going to be fighting something where I'm going to take unavoidable amounts of damage. Unavoidably large amounts of damage, I should say. You can pair it also with this Garrison weapon, Metal, which works decently, big attack, and then another weird skill, Mutiny's Terra Blade. This gives you attack based on whenever you take damage, and then Garrison, as I said, Garrison works well with enmity. There's another one that's a strong premium Earth enmity weapon, and that is Ayer's Bandage, Ancient Bandage. Big enmity, dual edge, Earth's dual edge is just double attack rate, who cares, and then medium garrison, so another strong weapon. Okay, this is going to be short, because there's not a lot of options for Enmity Light. Immediately I can think of the Metatron weapon. This is a Regalia weapon. This is from the Metatron raid, Metron's Treasured Blade. Metron's Treasured Blade is Solaire, so attack crit, and small enmity. Premium option for light, let's see, there is Summer Hellas's weapon, Swimsuit Hellas, Crystal Luin. This is Trium Enmity. To be honest, there's not a ton of options if you want to run Enmity Light. It's just not how the element's built. You notice I didn't call out really any light characters for Enmity builds. Light is aligned with stamina, dark is aligned with enmity. Like, they're theming, like, you know, light versus dark, they're opposite of each other. Light has a ton of characters that heal, damage cuts, all kinds of ways of keeping your health high for stamina. That's where it's aligned. You could try and build enmity light, but you're not going to have great options. Saving the best for last with Dark. Dark has an absolute ton of powerful enmity options. We already talked Gisla, so let's skip over it. I'm probably going to miss some, but I'll try and call out the major ones. Celestial Omega is the M1 option, easily farmable. It's from the Celeste Omega raid, obviously. Medium attack, small enmity, still a very useful weapon to this day. They gave away these at SO20 level 200 as well, so you might have one, check. I still use it as my Magnum modifier in some enmity grids. Very good weapon. This one is rather synonymous with enmity these days. This is the other enmity sphere, Vagabond. This is Kalulu's weapon. It's big enmity and then graphite art, so boost to Dark Allied skill damage cap. Extremely useful in skill damage dark racing builds. I know, like Stratomizer and the other premium weapons that aren't limited, this is a little awkward to put Dama into because it's not a limited weapon. But I actually did put Dama into this too, in fact, because it's just that important for the dark skill damage build. Talk about this one briefly, just to cover all of them. Any of the Dark Opus weapons, and I believe the Ultima weapons, if I remember correctly, can slot an enmity key. So I've got Enmity on this. Note all the stuff on this thing. So big attack and HP, boost the skill damage cap, and big Enmity. You can change both this, the cap up and the Enmity bonus. The Dark Opus weapon is extremely powerful. However, a thing to know is you need to have this 5-star uncapped in order to slot the Enmity key or the stamina key or whatever like third key you want in this thing. Third skill rather that you want in this thing. That's not going to be easily obtainable for a lot of people because that means you need to do Lucilius HL, which is a very hard raid and very intimidating. I did a video. You can check out my channel to find the video on how to do it. If you don't have like strong friends that are willing to do it, or if you're uncomfortable doing co-op raids, it's going to be hard for you to get this thing 5-star uncapped. But it is a powerful option if you are able to do Lucilius. I know everybody's looking at it, so I'm going to talk about it briefly, but this is not going to be a good option for many people. This is Sky Piercer in Dark. This is a superlative weapon. So 100 gold moons plus another 60 gold moons to get 3 Dama to fully uncap it, so 160 gold moons when this bad boy. This thing is... Okay, let's just talk about it real fast. It gives supplemental damage on charge attack, 40k. It's pretty significant. And then it's big Enmity, and then it's got apocalyptic power, which guarantees triple for MC. That's like guaranteed triple attack for MC. Bonus elemental damage, so you have a 30% echo all the time. And then you take damage every turn, which is turns on Enmity, but it's actually super annoying if you're running near, because you kind of have to jump through some hoops so it doesn't kill you. And then it has the same effect as Zweishadel. Zweishadel? The Proving Grounds, Dark Fist, a Royal Purple Blow. It gives you an extra tick of damage whenever a character triple attacks. Very powerful weapon, but not for everybody. So let's move on. Other Dark Enmity weapons. Where is it? Is it in this box? It probably is. Another Dark Enemy weapon that was popular for a while was Cerberus Order. Cerberus Order is from the Cerberus event. I think you can do it anytime now. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. This is Trium Enmity. This has fallen off a lot because Trium used to be super important, but as characters got better, so many characters have ways of getting high multi-attack / guaranteed multi-attack and triple attack that Trium's kind of a dead skill in some teams. So not as good these days, but was a very good option back in the day. Another weapon that commonly goes in Dark Enmity teams is Majestus. This is not an enemy weapon, but it's a garrison weapon, and also medium attack and HP. Lucilius HL solo build for Dark features like 3 of these things, I think. And then, where is it? Zoe's Ribbon. Q Ribbon, I talked about this in the near video, I think. Q Ribbon doesn't have a 4-star uncap, so you actually don't need to fully get this thing uncapped because you have all the skills immediately if all you care about are the skills. It has a big enmity, small attack. I don't know if it's ever going to get a 4-star uncap. It really should, because Cygames needs to get over it. Yes, they fucked up with Summer Zooey, but, like, you know, it's fine. And then, what else is there? Oh, the Xenosphere. I should talk about this one, because massive attack, EX, but also big boost allies attack based on how low MC's HP is. This is an EX Enmity weapon. I think it might be the only EX Enmity mod in the entire game. So it's a spear, which can be a little bit tricky to slot on some teams, but if you can, extremely, extremely powerful weapon. Let's talk about a more recent weapon that's extremely powerful. Remove this filter. And that would be Sanya Harp. Sanya Harp. Sanya Harp is Ray's weapon. This is Progression Enmity. They haven't done Progression Enmity / Stamina weapons until very recently. This is potentially very powerful because the Progression modifier gets very strong. It does require the fight to go long, though, which is not necessarily always Dark's game plan. But if you know the fight is going to go long, this is a very powerful weapon because it's two really big modifiers, progression and enmity. So big progression, medium enmity. That's all the dark weapons I can think of right now. Let's move on to actually beating some stuff up as dark. Okay, we're gonna jump in skill damage dark and try and grab MVP out of this fight. Let's get our skills up. It's always a juggling act between what skills you want to use and not use. You want to use like the important survivability ones and like get enough damage through, but you don't want to spend so much time hitting skills that you lose MVP because of it. Slow transaction I'm about to do where I swap Near for Ray, and then Ray for Zoe is slow. I don't like it, but it does guarantee that Zoe's gonna triple, which I think is actually pretty important. Gonna try to check this first turn for maximum damage. It's gonna incur lockout, as you'll see. So when I go to attack, it's not gonna immediately attack because of lockout, but I think it's worth it for that little bit of extra damage from Kalulu's double charge attack. And now we are Now we're MVP. Let's see if we can keep it. Nothing too crazy is going on over there yet. The charge attack comes, then we're going to want to probably use Kalulu's 1. But right now we just want to stay in the lead. Here comes the charge attack, so I want Kalulu to sub for it, so we're going to use her 1. Use Tally Help for good measure. We actually have a pretty sizable lead here, so let's just take a second. I'm actually going to delay that thing. Try to delay it and fail. And keep going. Boss is almost dead, so we should be fine. Someone bit it. Kalulu bit it. We're going to go ahead and cold stare to guarantee survive. And it's dead. That's how you snipe an MVP as skill damage dark. Oh, and I guess I should show you the loot in case you care. Hey! Mitron's all ready for enemy light, like I said, Mitron's treasure blade. Okay, next up, we're going to try and blue chest Akasha. Now, Akasha is actually one of the few farmable methods of getting a gold bar. You might not know that. Her blue chests are 0.3% chance of dropping a gold bar. It's not a great percent chance. However, it is farmable. If you keep on doing Akashas and keep on getting blue chests, you're going to get gold bars. This is how a lot of endgame players farm for gold bars. So what do you have to do? Well, we're running a Lucha setup here because for Akasha, she actually hits so hard that if you're full health on a lot of teams, you're still going to just like die. You're going to get flattened by her. So the idea with an enemy dark team is you're going to try and push a lot of damage in a few turns in order to hit the minimum threshold for a guaranteed blue chest. Now, it's actually a significant amount of honors. I believe it's like 1.5 million honors to guarantee a blue chest, but technically it's like a percentage of the amount of damage that gets done to her. So it's going to vary, but yeah, 1.5 is how much you need to push for a guaranteed blue chest. And honestly, a lot of elements aren't going to be able to do it just because Akasha hits so fast. And honestly, the fight usually ends really fast too, so that's going to be an issue. We're not racing here in the traditional sense. We're not trying to get MVP because there is nothing from the MVP chest you really care about. It's just hitting the blue chest threshold. So we can kind of go a little bit slower. We just want to maximize our damage every turn. Running this Lucha setup is nice because I can use Tag Team for another free turn of damage. These are the weapons I'm using. These are summons. I'm using this for Guts, Titan for Guts, and Alexio for the damage cut. And then Ray also has a full damage cut. So let's jump in. Alright, let's try and grab a blue chest out of Akasha. Akasha's a weird one, because sometimes she goes super fast, and sometimes she goes super slow. It just depends how many Dark Lords you have in here trying to blow her face off. Let's def near, get the F out. Legitimately, this is one of those things where it's really hard to consistently get consistently get blue chest out of Akasha if you're not running Enmity Dark. It's just how the fight's set up. Well, you're not gonna do enough damage fast enough to do it, or you're gonna have to take some turns, and then she's just gonna lethal hit you, or some various Akasha bullshit. This is going faster than I expected it to, so we're gonna have a little bit of trouble getting that gold or that blue chest. Sorry, I'm gonna refresh. I know it looks bad, but like you gotta do what you gotta do. Someone's gonna probably die this turn. That's fine, because Ray is gonna come up. Yep, there she is. Called it. Then we're gonna cold stare, and that's gonna get us a free turn of not getting hit. And get out of this lockout. So you need 1.5 million honors to guarantee the blue chest. Above a mil honors actually usually is enough to get you there. We'll see how it goes. So there's a mil. We're running out of bullshit though, so let's oh my god. Lockout is like the most annoying thing in this game. Taking off that double, putting it on 6 again. It only was on 6, I don't know why I did that. We're gonna push a little bit more damage from some skills also. Alright. That's 1.25 mil. That should be enough, actually. It better be, because we're fucking dead. That's how Akasha goes. Like, Akasha does so much freaking damage. And when she's not doing a lot of damage, she fucking lethal hits you. So, like, even if you had a cut, doesn't matter. This is a blue chest, almost assuredly. 1 more %. Come on, guys, you can do it. So, there's the blue chest, and yes, gold bar, right? Come on, gold bar me. Do it. I dare you to gold bar me. It's not a gold bar, but you see the point. Do that, like, do 300 of those, and and you'll get a gold bar. That, like, the percentages work in your favor there. The issue is, like, if you can't reliably blue chest, it's a nightmare, because, like, you're gonna have to do so many runs to try and get a gold bar. So that's why being able to blue chest reliably is important for farming Akasha. And that's a place where Enmity really shines. Okay, one more benefit of Enmity builds that not a lot of people think about. Since your damage is so high from Enmity, you don't actually need to run, like, on element or 2 relevant summons. You can, in fact, run something like a Kaguya, which, like, is very helpful for farming. So I'm gonna just do. I know Teammate Omega is not at all impressive, but the thing here is, because you can run Kaguya, that allows you to get more loot, which is super handy. So I'm only running 1 relevant summon. I'm only running my Hades, but because I'm running Entity, I can just do this, and this should kill this boss, just, like, straight out. So, like, there you go. And because of that, I have the bonus loot drop chance. Not a big thing, but it's one of those quality of life things that let you get a little bit more loot, make your farming a little bit more efficient, faster. So we have made it to the end. It's been a very long video, so hopefully I've answered some questions you might have around Enmity. If the playstyle of Dark intimidates you, you don't have to go, like, full-on Gisla, Summer Zooey, Nier in order to use Enmity. Enemy weapons and characters and other elements are much more gradual in how they approach it. Do you need an enabler like Summer Zooey to benefit from Enmity? No. Like, you can totally take enemy weapons into a longer fight where you start taking damage and just have the boss enable your enmity like that. That is a totally valid playstyle. It does mean you're not going to be as strong in a racing situation or like for a quick farming setup because you can't just jump off of the start line with like full damage. But like that's the trade-off of Enmity. So yes, if you've enjoyed this, leave me a comment down below. If you have more questions, feel free to ask them down below, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye!